Okay.
I'll just look like googly eyes the whole time. That's how I feel. Sorry.
Not that noticeable.
All right. Hi, everyone. Kellie here. I have a guest today. She is a watercolor artist. She teaches on Skillshare, and she has her own website. And she mostly teaches loose and flowy. And I don't know how you explain yourself, Chris. I'll let her explain most of it for you. But Chris B, and I'm going to say it, Octopus Connection. Did I have it right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
So she's on Instagram and Facebook as well. So welcome, Chris. I'm so glad to have you on here as a fellow Skillshare artist. It's awesome to chit chat with you. And I figured I would let you just kind of tell everybody about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you do it.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I am I've been an artist since my little hands could hold crayons. You know, I just always loved to create things. I had my hands in things. I learned to sew very young. I did sculpting. I did painting. I did fashion design. I did embroidery, like whatever I could get my hands on, I was all over it. You know, those people would give me kits as gifts, you know, and things like that, macrame and whatever, jewelry. So I was all over the place growing up and having a great time at it and so forth. And then of course you grow up, you go to work.
Mm.
And you know, that kind of gets pushed to the back. And for years and years, I did not create much of anything. And after, you know, about 15 years or so, I was like, oh my gosh, what happened to me? I'm missing something. I'm really missing something. What is it? And I realized I wasn't creating. So, you know, and all the busyness, you kind of leave it behind sometimes and just forget. So I decided I was going to bring a sketch pad with me to work. And on my breaks, I would just start sketching, bringing colored pencils, and then it led to paints. And watercolor paints have always been my favorite look in art. It's just so beautiful and mysterious, and and so I just started really getting into the watercolor painting. But it wasn't always practical to bring with me everywhere. So you're right, it can be messy, and you know, it's not always the easiest thing. I had my iPad with me all the time, so that's when I learned the Procreate.
Oh, okay.
It was born out of necessity to create and so forth. But initially, to get more tactile with my hands and have things to carry around with me as far as, you know, actually holding something, I started creating jewelry. In fact, I didn't really mean to have this come up, but this is a piece of mine that I did out of a painted beads and silk yarn from India, copper and leather. So I started just creating all this jewelry. I just had this brainstorm, and it came out of an idea that I didn't have the jewelry I want. I couldn't find the jewelry I wanted to wear anywhere. Like I had a very unique style, and so I started making my own pieces, and
Make
then
your own.
asking you, and then next thing you know, it turned into a website and so forth. And my first 2 Skillshare classes, because I'm a Skillshare teacher, as you mentioned, are how to make a ring and a bracelet.
I missed that one.
They're like way back in the day. Like, yeah, my first 2 classes were how to teach jewelry, and that's how I got onto Skillshare. And then I realized I had a nice wholesale account. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and so, you know, working on the Strip, because that's where you're mostly working when you live here. I amassed some contacts over there and ended up in a beautiful shop in one of the large hotels and doing really well with my jewelry there and so forth. But things started to change. The hotel got bought out by a big commercial company, and they all went to from indie and handmade items. They went from that to very big brands and very commercial. Yeah. So overnight that kind of changed. And I still had some collectors I was making pieces for, but I realized I really missed painting. And that's when I got back into the watercolor. And I started teaching watercolor classes on Skillshare, and I kind of never looked back. It was just I've never had so much fun.
Watercolor it does that for you, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's just so satisfying. And there's something about the challenge. Like a lot of people I think are afraid to paint with watercolors because they feel like they just don't have any control over it, and it's just all over the place. I don't know what it's going to do. And so, as you said, one of my specialties is teaching loose watercolor. And I saw so many people struggling. I realized, okay, people, you got to relax. You just have to go with it. And it taught me how to let go. Like literally working with watercolors taught me how to let go in life and let things be, and let the happy accidents be the star of the show. And be so excited to see what the project was going to turn into, because you don't know when you're starting. And so that's how I fell in love with it. I was still working in my corporate job, and when everything shut down, I remember coming home that first evening after shutting everything. I was a store manager. After shutting everything down and coming home and being in total shock, it hit me, because I was so busy. It hit me that we were in a pandemic. You know, it hit me so hard. And Kellie, I started hyperventilating. I'm not kidding. I had a panic attack. I was so upset and so scared, not knowing what the future held for any of us. Just this moment of, oh my God, what is happening? And I remember sitting in my studio, and I remember just hyperventilating. And this hardly ever happens to me, but every once in a while, you know, I grabbed my watercolor paints and my paper, and I had water in my jar. And I literally started dipping water all over. Like I just started throwing water on the paper, and I started putting pigment on my brush, and I dipped it in the water, and I sat there and I watched it pool into the water, like the pigments mixing with the water. And it was so relaxing. And I didn't even know what I was doing. It was so instinctive. I was just in a total state of panic. And I did it again, and I did it again. And after about literally 15 minutes, I started breathing easier. I started like catching myself, and I looked at what I had painted, and it was beautiful. Like it was just nothing I'd ever done before. And it looked like an abstract painting.
You just released right all over the paper.
Just let it go. And it was total raw expression. And I did it again the next day and the next day. And I started feeling like, oh my God, I found something. Like this is something. This is something. And I noticed a lot of abstract art going on and teaching and so forth, but it was mostly in acrylics. It wasn't really in watercolor. So it never occurred to me to do it in watercolor. And I remember thinking, you know, people are feeling like I'm feeling. They need help to relax, to cope, you know, to whatever with all of this. So I created a course on Skillshare, my first abstract course, called Abstract Watercolor Painting Backgrounds. And it was designed that you don't have to paint anything that looks like anything. It was total no pressure. It was like, just show up and throw some paint on your paper and just let it flow. And I put it for free for like 5 months, I think it was, just to get people in there and get them to just engage. And a lot of artists never thought about doing abstracts. I never did. And it was a new thought for them. And after they started, they were starting to get hooked into the process. So then I created a second course and a third, and now I just completed my fourth. And each one is centered on a different theme. And a lot of people are just really benefiting from it. So it's been a whole new adventure for me.
That's awesome. I took one of your courses, as a matter of fact. I think it was the one where you had a lot of line work and the pattern. I'm trying to think of. It was a while ago. What was it?
Abstract watercolor painting, making marks, I think it's called.
Yes, that was the one.
That was a fun one, yeah.
And I loved it. And because I'm a tight painter, so with watercolors, I have a hard time loosening up sometimes. So your classes were really good for that.
Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's working. I do like to do a lot of different things. I've done gouache. Oil has never been my thing. It's just been too tight for me, too like structured. You have to have the turpentine and all that stuff there. I love to just grab and go. Like I'm simple. I love to just, you know, keep it really, really, and I love to travel and be about my life with my watercolors. In fact, I was just invited by Viviva Colors, who is like a little paint books, and you know what they are. You featured them on your YouTube channel. I've seen that video.
I love them. They're so bright.
They're so pink. They're so saturated and so beautiful. And so they've just completely revolutionized my portability, and which I love. I can throw them in my back pocket if I want. So that has, I mean, I love that. I love being able to just take my stuff and go and wherever I am and just start painting. So
I was going to ask you, do you have a favorite brand and brushes and paints that you use, or are you?
I mean, I've always used, like since college, I've always used Winsor & Newton.
Yeah.
And I've tried different brands and they're fine, but I just always keep going back to them. It's just
They're
my brand,
classic.
I guess.
Yeah, they're classic. How about your paper? What do you use for paper? I know with
Oh,
loose watercolors, is it thicker, heavier paper or?
yes, it tends to be. I mean, I kind of go back and forth. I make a lot of greeting cards, so I buy different brands of greeting card stock, postcard stock, and then I buy little sheets to do like practice things on, like test things. And they're not the best paper, but they're still watercolor paper. My
Mhm.
favorite is this Canson watercolor book, and the sheets are pretty thick. They absorb a ton of water. Like you can see, like one sheet is pretty a good
Oh
thickness.
yeah.
And I do most of my Skillshare courses out of these. I just have books of projects from my Skillshare classes in these things, and then I can keep them all in one place. So I like that. It's
Right.
just yeah.
And now, so tell us about you have an Instagram profile, which is Octopus Connection.
Yes,
Yes.
that's perfect. Yeah. So Octopus Connection came out of an idea where my hands were in everything. Like I couldn't decide what I
That's
wanted.
where that came from. Ah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was doing jewelry, and then I was actually doing commission sculpting for a client for a while, these bust forms. And I love to
My
sculpt.
goodness, you
It
have
is
done everything.
so yeah, I mean, I was kind of when I started all of this, I was all over the place. And then I've done fashion design and so I didn't know what to call myself, so I just chose a name that kind of could encompass everything, so that if I ever wanted to add something else onto that website, I could, and it would make some
Yeah,
sense.
that makes total sense. What's the name of your website? Because you now teach classes on your own website as well, right?
I do. It's octopusconnection.com.
Perfect. So go there and check that out. Do you have how many classes do you have up on there now? You just opened that.
I have the one, but I'm getting ready to release a few more. It's the abstract watercolor backgrounds. I I have been working on what platform I want to scale from, and that's been my interesting little dilemma. And I think this summer I'm going to really figure it out, and I'm going to really start scaling out. But I've got classes waiting, ready to go. So
Awesome. And you're talking about, can I say this? Is it okay to say that you're thinking
sure.
about doing a
Yeah.
membership?
Yeah. This is an idea I've wanted to do for a long time, and I've been really working on this for over a year, trying to, figure out the particulars. How would I do it? What would I want to? And I really want a space for students to come that feel like they don't have the confidence to show their work. They don't have the confidence to feel like they're an artist. They need someone to guide them through those steps so they can feel like, yes, I can call myself an artist now. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people that have created their whole lives and can't call themselves an artist. So that's the basis for the membership, is to help build confidence and have a safe space for you to grow and show your work there before you take it out into the world and take that risk, because it is scary.
It is. It
It can be
is.
really scary.
It is. Yep. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. I think it's still scary.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. When you do something new, it's still new, and you don't know how people are going to react to it. But it's the more I put myself out there, the happier I am. So I'm
Just
going for it.
go with the flow, just like you do with your paints, right?
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
water. You just go wherever it takes you.
And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So
It is true. Yep. And I do the same thing. I'm always trying new things out. And my latest, well, I've been focusing back on watercolor. I was doing alcohol inks for a while there, but
yes, those were fun. I took that course. Took one of those anyway. And
did you?
yes,
Yeah,
those
inks are fun. Everything is fun. I mean, you're an artist. What isn't fun?
right.
The octopus
Pretty much.
saying the same thing. I love that. So what would be your number one tip for painting that loose and flowy way that you do?
Well, I think a lot of people think I can't do that. Like they think I
And
don't work.
abstracts are hard. Like I as a realist painter, I think abstracts are hard.
Well, just so you know, Kelly, I was a realist most of my artist life. I mean, die hard. I would, I wouldn't even go to a gallery with abstract paintings. Like, I mean, I'd be like, what is this? I don't get it. I don't understand.
My, how
So,
things change, huh?
right? But I think it took that pandemic to really to really make me realize it's not about how it looks. It's about how it feels.
How it makes you feel, how you feel when you're painting it.
Exactly. So that was revolutionary. And at that point, it was a necessary thing. And now I'm a convert, So I think I just released my fourth abstract course, and my students in there, I just kept encouraging them, just try it. Like, there a lot of people were taking the class but not doing the project. And I would reach out to them and say, just do it once. Don't even show it to anybody. Just try it.
Mhm.
And then they were coming back to me with, Chris, I don't think this is good enough. And then you sent me the picture and it was gorgeous. I'm like, you need to show this.
I know.
They just
Isn't
didn't
that?
understand their style. And so I encouraged them to put it out there. They were getting comments then, and then they'd show it more. And then they'd come back to me like, Chris, you were right. This is so addicting, and so forth. So it's just, I would say,
Doing
just
it.
do it. Just try it. And I mean, you can prove me wrong. Just do it to prove me wrong if you want to. It's okay. If you don't
Yeah.
like it, it's all right. But just try it once.
That is, you hit the nail on the head right there. It's about doing, and it's about, I love the fact that you said that, where it's about just releasing and letting it out there. It doesn't matter what the outcome is going to be. It's just about the process itself and
Exactly.
playtime. That's what it
There
should
you
be. We
go.
did that when we were kids, right?
Right?
Nobody ever criticized. It was just like you were just
Ooh,
out there having fun, and it was fun. Make it fun. It doesn't have to be so, you
we still
know.
need to play.
Yep, nope, I love it. I love it. I love it. So if they want to take a class with you, Chris, the best way to do that would be to go to octopusconnection.com, sign up there, and look. Do you also have an email list that they can get on?
I do. I have a couple of freebies. I have a color palette that goes out every month, and a wallpaper that goes out every month.
Ooh,
Yes.
fun.
And then you can sign up for my live painting classes that I do periodically. So
Oh, yes. Please tell us about your live painting classes.
I started them in this January, and I just wanted to. I had done one with another artist the year previously, and it was so much fun that I decided to do this for my group, and they loved it. Like, I didn't know how much they were going to love it. It was just so much fun to get into the studio together, feel like we're in the same room in a way,
Was
to
it
get
on
on
Zoom?
Zoom. And yeah, it was on Zoom,
On Zoom.
and just be able to ask questions. I leave the chat open so they can just, I mean, not the chat, but I leave the sound on for them so they can
Mhm.
just, it turned into like a fun informal party. We laughed, we shared ideas, we showed our projects to each other, and it was just so much fun. So I've kept it going, and that's going to be included in my monthly membership, is these lives, because they've been so
Ooh.
good for everybody. Yeah, so it'll be a video, a project, a question and answer, and then the live painting session together. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
That is fun. Yeah, lives are great. I've done a couple myself, and you're right. You just get, it's like hanging out with your besties.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
You're just
And
having
I'm
fun.
getting people that are coming every single time. So it's becoming a community. So it's
Yeah,
just been great.
that's awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. And we'll put all of your links down below. Go ahead and check out Chris's page, check out her Skillshare classes, her website, and learn how to be loose and just enjoy, right?
Love it. Yep, that's it. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.